Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 13th City of Apopka Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. If you would all please stand with me for a moment of silent prayer and the pledge to the flag. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's meeting, each item on the agenda will have a time for people from the public wishing to speak can speak on that matter. On each individual matter, we'll have a time for public speaking. If there is anything that somebody would like to bring to the attention to the Planning Commission that is planning and zoning related, now would be the time to speak.
You don't want to move that to the end of the meeting?
I ain't afraid. All right, seeing none, we will move into meeting minutes from June 11th, 2024. Does anyone have any changes or additions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Stanley. Thank you, sir.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mott. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, meeting minutes, July 9th, 2024. Anyone have any additions or notations? All right, we'll move to need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ryan. Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Washington. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1, zoning variance, quasi judicial 5260 Mount Plymouth Road. Owners Elvira I'm going to destroy this, Margios Alvaro. Applicants Julian Cotto. Has anyone from the board had ex parte communication on this matter?
No, sir.
No.
Seeing none, we will turn it over to Mr. Song.
Good evening, this is Junson Planner 2. This is a request for a zoning variance of the property located at 5260 Mount Plymouth Road. The property is currently zoned agriculture. Future land use is residential rural settlement. Agricultural zoning district has minimum requirements of lot size of 2.5 acre and lot width of 150 feet for a single family house development. However, a lot size of this property is 2.36 acres and lot width is 145 feet. Therefore, the applicant has applied zoning variance for single family house development. DRC does not have any objection, and Planning Commission decision shall approve with a condition or denial. Staff and applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Song. Does anyone have questions of staff? Okay, is the applicant here and do they have a presentation?
I actually did
Oh,
have.
I'm sorry.
I actually did have
Go
a
ahead.
question. In reading through this request, I understand that it's slightly smaller.
Mhm.
So the question that, as I was reading it, is there a point where we as a council would say, okay, that's too small? How does that get figured? I did read where it is individual, and I certainly understand each one comes on their own merit, but I was just reading that at some point there will be a person, come before this, committee.
So for agricultural zoning, so that's because it's written as a standard. The zoning variance was required for him to apply. So for example, like lot width can be like exempted with a what was it called? Administrative adjustment.
Yeah, administrative adjustment.
Yes, but the lot size wise, it cannot be exempted with the administrative adjustment. So the applicant has no choice except for the zoning variance.
All right, thank you.
May I ask?
Commissioner Washington.
Yeah, I think just the bottom line, it seems like, because I read it a couple of times trying to make it out. So it seems like basically there was an inconsistency between the AG zoning and the plat.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yes.
There's a gap.
Yes.
So right now we're trying to, eliminate the gap. Is that right?
Yes.
Therefore, the variance.
Any more questions of staff?
No, sir.
I would say that, as Commissioner Mott alluded to, it doesn't set a precedent. It doesn't give anybody free reign. And again, I think that's the question that you had asked. I think it's more that would be relevant to us because we are the final arbiter of this. So 2.36 to 2.5, if 5 of the neighbors showed up, they were all notified and didn't want it, then that's a different story, but it's a very small thing. Now, again, we would, if it was 1.5, then all of a sudden now it's a different deal. But again, with the fact that everybody was notified, nobody has had any complaints, and I think it's a small thing, but it's just a one-time deal. The next guy, if he has one that's 2.49, he still has to get a variance.
But Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, on that point though, it just seems like this is strictly internal. I don't think this has anything to do with neighbors. We don't need to discuss this because we have, an AG zone, he says 2.5, and the plat says 2.6.
3.
So it's
It's
just
small.
small. So they're just, to me, it's just administrative. Has nothing to do with neighbors. Not that we need to discuss this point. That's just my point of view.
No, okay, but I would disagree under the context that, okay, the rules are set up that it's 2.5. Everybody that moves into that settlement says, okay, nobody can build 5 houses on a lot next to me. It's, it's spacing. It's a rural settlement. And then if you vary from that and allow somebody to get smaller and smaller lots, now you're affecting all those people that live in that settlement that don't want somebody next door to them. In other words, if you had a lot in 2.5 and then we approve 0.5, now that neighbor is right next to you. You can see him out your side door. So I think, and from that, my point was, if the 4 people surrounding this lot came up and said, no, then all of a sudden now you have to take a breath and think about it because it's going to affect those people. I think the fact that it's such a small variance, I could drive by that lot and that's 2.5. I can't tell 2.5 and 2.6. So I think that would be why I think that the public would be involved. But anyways, I digress. Okay. Bring it back to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion approval of the variance.
Thank you, Commissioner Stanley.
Mr.
Motion by
Chairman?
Commissioner Stanley.
Mr.
Do we have a
Chairman,
second?
Mr. Chairman, you have to open up public hearing or
Oh,
public input on this.
goodness gracious, I'm sorry. Okay. Rescind that. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? And I was belaboring the point of the public speaking on the matter. How about that? Apparently it went right over my head. All right. Commissioner Stanley, would you like to
I'll
refile
make,
your motion?
I'll make a motion approval of the variance.
Motion by Commissioner Stanley. Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Take your choice.
Motion by Commissioner Ryan, second by Commissioner Ryan. You can have the next one. All righty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All righty. Site plan, Florida Town Center, multifamily phase 1, major development plan. Owners, Florida Apopka phase 1 owner LLC. Applicant, Andrew McCown. Location, Florida Town Center phase 4. Mr. Howe.
Thank you. For the record, Bobby Howell, Planning Manager. The property is located on parcel 4 of Floridian Town Center, and this is a major development plan for apartment complex consisting of 312 multifamily units and 10 buildings that are 3 stories each. Parcel 4 is permitted in the PUD for Floridian Town Center for multifamily. This is a 14.7 acre size parcel and has a future land use of high density residential. The site is accessed via Floridian Town Center Boulevard and Kiowa Avenue. Consistent with the PUD master plan, a total of 493 parking spaces are provided on site. 15 are accessible, 30 are electric car parking and charging stations. consistent with the PD master plan. Stormwater retentions provided in the middle of the site and on the sides. Architectural elevations are consistent with the approved master plan, and the development review committee recommends approval, and the recommended motion is to recommend approval of the Floridian Town Center multifamily Phase 1 major development plan. Staff and the applicant are available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Howe. Anyone have questions of staff?
No, sir.
Anyone have questions of the applicant?
No, I'm sorry. I do
Oh,
have
okay. Of staff?
okay.
Commissioner Ryan.
Mr. Howe, wasn't it originally supposed to be a YMCA there?
No, that was supposed to be on parcel 7. This was always contemplated to be multifamily. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone from the public here wish to speak on this matter?
I'm sorry. Also questions for the applicant.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
All right. Is the applicant present? Your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Andrew McCown with GAI Consultants.
Are there any government loans or guarantees involved in this project?
No, I don't believe so. No government loans. This is all being privately financed.
Okay, thank you. One other thing, I see you've got the EV charging stations and you got plenty of parking for people with disabilities. Do you plan to add any EV charging stations with accessibility for people with disabilities?
You know, the engineer is here as well.
I know it's has to do more like the
Yes, sir.
Fair
James
Housing
Nugent.
Act rather than ADA, but
I'm sorry. James Nugent with Donald McIntosh Associates. We're the civil engineer of record for the project. There are EV charging stations set on the plans at specific, not specific, but periodic locations throughout the site where we've already anticipated that. I don't believe there's a specific ADA requirement, but we try to accommodate all the potential residents that will be in the apartment complex. So yes, sir, there are charging stations at some of the ADA spaces.
you said there are some EV charging stations that will be ADA.
Yes,
Will be
yes, sir.
accessible for people with disabilities.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wasn't on the plan, so
They'll be in more detail. We currently have a construction site plan under review at the city that provides more detail on the parking spaces, the site geometry, and where the locations are for all the charging stations.
thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions of the applicant?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone from the public wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion. Thank you, Commissioner. Motion by Commissioner Norwood. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Site plan number 2, Wild Oaks replat, owners Kelly Park VB Development LLC. Applicants Kimberly Horn and Associates, care of Kevin Robertson, PE. Location 3434 West Kelly Park Road. Ms. Sanchez.
Good evening, Jean Sanchez with the Planning and Zoning Division. This is a request to recommend approval of the Wild Oaks replat. The subject property is situated west of State Road 429, south of Kelly Park Road, and east of Golden Gem Road. It's approximately 152 acres in size. The applicant has submitted the replat to establish stormwater tracts and create 9 lots while including the recently acquired properties located in the southwest corner of the development site. Plat is consistent with the Kelly Industrial Park Major Development Plan approved by City Council on February 7, 2024. The Kelly Industrial Park Phase 1 construction site plan approved by the Development Review Committee on April 17, 2024, as well as the Madison Oaks construction site plan approved by the Development Review Committee on July 23, 2024. The DRC recommends approval. The recommended motion is to recommend approval of the Wild Oaks replat. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Anyone have questions of staff?
No, sir.
All right, does anyone have questions of the applicant?
No, sir.
Very well. Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion and a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to recommend approval of the Wild Oaks replat.
Thank you, sir. Motion by Commissioner Stanley. Do I have a second?
I second
Second by Commissioner Washington. All in favor, say aye.
it.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item number 3, Crossroads at Kelly Park 1B plat. Owners Gavin Land Services LLC and Kelly Park Land Investments LLC. Applicants Polos and Bennett, Kara Melissa Martinez. Location 4338 Ondich Road. Ms. Sanchez.
For the record, Jean Sanchez with the Planning and Zoning Division. This is a request to recommend approval of the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 1B plat. The subject property is located south of Ondich Road and east of Round Lake Road, approximately 29 acres. The applicant has submitted the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 1B plat for consideration, creating 140 residential lots as well as alley and park tracks and easement. This plat also creates 9 tracks for open space and amenities. It is consistent with the Kelly Park Property Major Development Plan approved by the City Council on August 3rd, 2022, as well as the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 1B Construction Site Plan approved by the Development Review Committee on October 4th, 2023. Access to this phase of the Crossroads development is proposed on Kelly Park Road via Waypoint Boulevard, as well as connections to the proposed and future developments to the south, north, west, and east adjacent properties. The DRC recommends approval. The recommended motion is to recommend approval of the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 1B plat. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Anyone have questions of staff?
I
do.
Commissioner Ryan.
What are the setbacks on the front garage, front-loaded garages on the lots?
What are the setbacks? I don't recall. We don't have minimum and maximums in the Kelly Park interchange form-based code area. But this phase, the MDP as well as the CSP has been approved, and those would be on the construction site plan. I'm sorry, I don't recall construction site plan details.
Yeah, I don't think we can change it at this time, but it's something in the future we should look at. Just want to make sure that someone can park their car in their driveway and not block the sidewalk.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yes, sir.
I think
Understood.
like an F-150, which is a very common vehicle in the city of Apopka, I think it's 21 feet long, if I recall. So it needs to be like 22 feet just from the sidewalk.
Okay, duly noted.
This is in the neighborhood character zone in the form-based code area. And the setback, there's a minimum of a 15-foot front setback.
I'm sorry, my mic wasn't on. This is in the neighborhood character zone of the form-based code area. And there's a minimum front yard setback of 15 and a maximum of 30. So there is a range.
So with a garage, you only have 15 feet.
Oh, apologies, I
You can-
misspoke.
Yes,
How can
because
someone
it's a
park? in
it's
that
a
one?
what they call a T&D type design, neo-traditional type design. So it's like a Baldwin Park-esque area, the form-based code area is. So
You know,
there's
well, my
those be
concern
on-street
is,
parking.
you know, on these small lots and these small, and really compact in, people don't park their cars in the garage. They store stuff in the garage for the most part, not everybody. And a lot of times a vehicle is blocking the sidewalk.
No,
It's just something we need to look at down the road.
I understand.
Thank you.
Apologies about me misspeaking about the setback requirements. I missed the ranges in the Kelly Park interchange form-based code. But yes, it's a range, and I don't recall exactly what it is. It might very well be. Do you recall? 22 feet. I know this has been touched on by city council member before, so.
Okay. Commissioner Washington.
Yes, this is just probably a typo on the staff report that we received. It says proposed use 175 single-family lots, but then you mentioned in the project summary it says 140. Is that a typo?
Yes, it is. It's 140.
So it should be, okay.
Any more questions of staff?
No, sir.
Any questions of the applicant? Unless she is? No, they're not. Unless you're it? No, there's not an applicant here.
She is. She is the applicant.
Okay. Do you have any questions of the applicant?
I wish I did.
Well, you should make up one at this point.
So I think
Okay.
it's all my bluff.
All right. Does anyone here from the public wish to speak on this matter? That would be no. Bring it back to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of the Crossroads at Kelly Park Phase 1B plat.
Thank you, sir. Motion by Commissioner Washington. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Norwood. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Bronson Peak Phase 2A plat, owners DRP Florida 5 LLC, applicants Polos and Bennett LLC, care of Guinevere Labuda, location north of Boy Scout Road and west of Galaxy Boulevard. Ms. Sanchez.
Jean Sanchez with the Planning and Zoning Division. This is a request to recommend approval of the Bronson Peak Phase 2A plat. The subject property is found north of Boy Scout Road and west of Galway Boulevard, approximately 14 acres in size. The applicant has submitted the Bronson Peak Phase 2A plat to create 88 lots as well as right-of-way and alley tracts. Access is on Boy Scout Road via Ravenhurst Place. The plat is consistent with the Ridge Major Development Plan approved by the City Council on October 13, 2021, and the Ridge PD Parcel 2 Construction Site Plan approved by the Development Review Committee on June 16, 2022. The DRC recommends approval. The recommended motion is to recommend approval of the Bronson Peak Phase 2A plat. Staff and applicant are available for questions.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Anyone have questions of staff?
I have a question.
Commissioner Ryan.
How wide are the lots with the back alley?
The ones in the alley is under 50-foot width, which is what requires an alley in our code. So it's actually a mix of standard lots. Genevieve, do you recall the width of the single family? It's a mix of standard lots and bungalows. 20 to 25 feet. The smaller lots, the bungalows.
20 to 25 feet?
Yes, sir.
The smallest lots?
Correct.
So what can you build on that, 20-foot lot width?
I will let the applicant answer that. They
Oh,
can
good.
build on it.
Thank you.
Hey, Genevieve Labuda with Polis and Bennett, 2602 East Livingston Street, Orlando, Florida. G mentioned these are all, I think, townhomes and bungalow style. So they're connected, if I'm not mistaken.
Any more questions of the applicant?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? All right, bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to recommend approval of the Bronson Peak Phase 2A plat.
Thank you, sir. Motion by Commissioner Stanley. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Mott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Okay. do have any old business. One item I'd like to bring up for new business very briefly, a question actually for Mr. Howe. There was we had in front of us a Claricona Road project. It was a commercial building or a commercial property, and we changed the zoning to industrial right at the, gosh, I can't think of the side road there. Anyways, it's the side of the property faces residential houses. And you know which one I'm talking about on Claricona Road?
Is it near Keene Road?
No, not Keene Road. Oh, why does it escape me?
The
side road? Let's see
landscaping,
here.
was
I'll
it
tell
the
you what.
landscaping company?
Stone Road.
Yeah, it's by
It
the,
borders Stone Road.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is why I think it's relevant to us on the board. It was, they were initially we zoned it, and then they were gonna ask for a special exemption, and then they were told that they didn't need a special exemption as long as they followed the outdoor storage 14 regulations, blah, 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 blah. The mixed use residential districts, outdoor storage areas shall be located at rear of development's principal buildings. In other zones, outdoor storage shall be located on the side or rear development. Okay, they're on the side. But the relevant thing here is outdoor storage shall be enclosed in either a wall made of masonry consistent with that of the primary buildings on the wood lot, vinyl, or combination such as masonry wall and metal fencing. The height of the wall fence shall be sufficient to screen stored materials from public view, right of ways, private street file, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so they didn't ask for the variance, and it was all approved based on them following those rules. And we as a board make a decision to do the zoning. It wasn't a variance, but had we made the decision or was a variance, then we would decide that, okay, if you follow these rules, then we'll give you the variance to do that. And I only know this because two different people who live on that road have asked me about it, and I drove by and looked at it. And the side of the building where they were approved to do their storage, there's the fencing is torn down. There's pallets stacked up 15 feet over the fence. So the 3 or 4 people that live across the street from that look at that every day. Initially, when they did it, they kept everything really nice. My question is, and I know we have to take that in consideration. Okay, here's the rules they have to follow. But if they don't follow them, is there really any recourse other than the people calling code enforcement on? Because
Yeah.
both parties that spoke to me have called code enforcement at least 4 times each person,
Okay.
and it's never been resolved. So I think that's pertinent to us that when we're making a variance, if it's a variance, a guy wants to put his pool deck within 8 feet of the property instead of 10, that's not a big deal. But when it's something like that where it's going to affect people long term if they don't follow the rules, and I'm not trying to be derogatory to code enforcement, but if they're powerless or toothless and nothing happens, then we need to really consider that when we're giving a variance. Wait a minute, if we give a variance, they might not follow the rules, and then the end result is these people are going to suffer because they wanted a variance to do something that wasn't allowed, and we allowed them to make an exception.
Yeah, so in this case, if I recall, this was for a landscape company, I think.
I don't even know what it is.
And they did a
I
special
remember the guy was
exception.
here in front of us, and we talked, and some people from that street were here,
Okay.
and we changed the zoning, and then they were going to come back and ask for an exception to do storage.
Right.
And then I have the correspondence here where Jim said, no, if you follow these rules, you don't have to have an exception, that it's allowed under that mixed use
Okay.
is allowed, storage is allowed,
Right.
outdoor storage is allowed.
So usually the course of action in a situation like this would be for one to contact code enforcement. I can follow up with them about this and see what the status of this is. When we review a plan or like a rezoning or something, and when we have to react to the standards that's presented in the information that the applicant's presenting to us. So yeah, there is the possibility that somebody might, once they build something, do stuff that's outside the realm of code or become a nuisance to their neighbor. But when we review it as a staff, we have to look at just the facts that are presented to us and what the code says they can and can't do. When a special exception comes before this board, the applicant has demonstrated that they comply with the 12 or 13 standards I think there are in the report, that they're going to comply with it. If they're out of compliance, then it'd be my understanding it'd be more of a code enforcement issue. But I mean,
And I'm not asking you to go
Yeah.
rattle the cage of code enforcement because the homeowners have called in and that will take its due course. I'm just saying that from my standpoint, I look at that, okay, so looking at this now, I
Mhm.
question my decision going, yeah, we'll change that zoning, and allow this guy to do that.
Yeah.
Because now the long-term effect is those people got exactly what they said they didn't want, and we assured them that they wouldn't get that, then we'll make them follow the rules, and now they're not. So I understand. I mean, I'm not asking you to go rattle somebody's cage. I'm just bringing that up and saying that we need to take that in consideration. It's not like the normal recommendation we send to when we make that recommendation, that's it, it's done. So that's relevant. That's my only point.
Yeah, and this board approves of special exceptions. I mean, in a lot of cases, hindsight's 20/20, you know.
Right.
But I mean, we have to only react to facts they're presenting, and somebody's giving us testimony that they're going to meet all the requirements of the code. I mean, we as a staff, then we have to pretty much recommend approval, especially if it's a quasi judicial matter. We're required to recommend approval of it, provided they meet all the requirements of the code and comp plan. But yeah, that it's like one of those kind of things. Hindsight's
I got you.
20/20.
Rock
you
and
know?
hard place. I understand.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that I would add very quickly would be what Commissioner Ryan brought up about the parking.
Mhm.
If I'm not mistaken, you can be written a ticket if the back of your car is hanging over the sidewalk.
It's happened to me.
Doesn't have to be parked on it. If the bumper is on the sidewalk, you can get a ticket in the city of Apopka, right?
That happened to me when I lived in Orange County.
Well, I
Was
think you would
hanging
be
over.
really touchy about the length of the driveway at that point.
It was a long time ago.
My
I got
point
over it
being
until
is,
now.
okay, who benefits by allowing them to have a 15-foot driveway? And like he said, I think the driveway should be 25 foot.
Right.
Who benefits from that? The homeowner doesn't really benefit. They're going to suffer the consequences. It's in front of the sidewalk. The only person who benefits is the developer because they get to squish more square footage into per lot. So, as Mr. Ryan suggested, and I wholeheartedly concur. I think that the minimum should be up to take the average of what a vehicle is, and if you take the percentage of trucks on the road and big SUVs on the road, it ain't 15 foot.
Right.
So
in the
maybe
Kelly
that
Park,
needs to be addressed, and okay, the minimum's 22 and a half feet or whatever.
Right.
So there is no option. If a customer or a resident buys a property, he can park in his driveway and not be hanging over the sidewalk unless he tries to park two cars.
So the Kelly Park form-based interchange code, where the majority of these plats were this evening, it's what's called a new urbanist neo-traditional design code. It's supposed to be like a Baldwin Park or Celebration type development. There is a
Where the
range of
predominant,
setbacks.
the most of them, I'll use that word, I can say that one. Most of them have backloaded parking in Baldwin Park. They don't
Right.
have driveways.
And our
So-
code requires if you have a lot that's 50 foot or less to be rear loaded.
Right.
So we saw one where they had less than 50-foot lots. The lots that are over 50 feet, they can be front loaded. So in the form-based code area, there's different what they call character zones: neighborhood, transitional, interchange, village center, and there was one more, employment, I believe it is. In the neighborhood character zone, there's a range of setbacks, a minimum of 15 feet and a maximum of 30 feet. So if somebody comes in and they're proposing a development where they're saying my house is going to have a range of setbacks on this street, I have one here of 15, one of 30, one of 18, the code says they can do it. I mean, we're bound by the code.
And that's my point. Maybe the code needs to be addressed.
Yeah. And the form-based code was written, I think it got adopted in 2016, I believe, something like that.
Well, it's not like we don't change it all the time. It's in front of us all the time to be changed. So put that on the next list of when we have a change fest on it.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate it, Bobby. Thank you. All right. I'll shut up so I can go home.
I have one item of business.
Okay.
So, just wanted to remind everybody on the 10th of September at 3 p.m. is the joint workshop with the City Council for the Comprehensive Plan Rewrite.
Are we going to address the driveways?
Well, that's not really a comp plan issue.
Yes, I've got the 17 emails, and I actually read these emails, so I know what time the meeting starts.
And on that point, I had asked about, would we be prepared for discussion with any documents?
Please come. Yeah, we'll have the documents. We've been working with the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council. They got hired to do this job in 2021. So we're finally getting to the finish line on this. There's been some snags, but we're getting there. They have prepared the draft Dr. Son in our office has been kind of taking the lead on reviewing that, and working with the Regional Planning Council. He's done a fantastic job on that. And we will have those drafts out to you hopefully a couple weeks before the meeting because it's quite a big undertaking to read that. If you have trouble sleeping at night, you might want to read that before you go to bed. But in all seriousness, it's a big read and it's a lot. But be prepared to come with ideas, suggestions. But remember, a comprehensive plan, it's a policy document. It does not guide like a land development code does. And so it'd be kind of set up very similar to the transportation element that was recently adopted.
If I have trouble sleeping, I just watch videos of meetings we have. Yeah. All righty. There's nothing else.